Imagine standing shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of Floridians, business owners, and advocates inside the state capitol, ready to make real change. That's what Cannabis at the Capitol is all about. The signature Lobby Day and Education Expo from the Florida Cannabis Action Network, where voices intersect with policy and passion turns into progress. For just $50 for individuals, you'll gain access to expert briefings, self-guided meetings with lawmakers, and the power to influence Florida's cannabis future. For businesses, $300 unlocks premium access. Connect with decision makers, showcase your enterprise, and build alliances in a fast-growing sector. Whether you're a medical patient seeking stronger access, an entrepreneur navigating regulations, or a company ready to stand at the forefront of industry change, this is your platform. One day in Tallahassee could shift a lifetime of regulation. Join us. Be present. Be heard. Be the change at Cannabis at the Capitol.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Elevated Intel. I'm Jodi James and this is my co-host Cynthia Brewer. Good evening, Cynthia.
I'm sick. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Put it out there.
Let's just get that out of the way.
And we wouldn't know except when you first got on, you had the Kleenex in your hand, and I thought, oh, that's a bad sign.
I have the box here, but I need to state that because if I'm not 100%, then there is an excuse. But this is so important, and this is something that we talked about wanting to do in quick succession to everything on Friday. So I'm going to tough it out because I love this industry and this show so much.
And what we're talking about tonight is very important to so many people that we care about.
Yes.
And to the plant that, for one, have been defending for 25 years. So how the next couple of years roll out is going to be very, very important. And as Florida Cannabis Action Network, we're going to be talking about that more and more. If you are not 100% up to speed and you just came upon this program, we are going to be talking with some Florida folks about what is happening with the national hemp ban that was signed into law last week. So let's go ahead and bring on our guests, and then Cynthia is going to give all of us a little bit of background. We'll have a little bit of a roundtable discussion. You will find all of our speakers to be fabulous. I'm going to start with kind of the basics. So Jamie Treadwell, if you'll go ahead and come on board. Jamie is coming to us from Bustos area. Is that
Umatilla?
Oh yeah, okay.
Umatilla, yeah.
Well, I was so close.
Yeah. Eustis is next door.
Jamie is third generation farmer. Do I have that
Way
right?
more than that. Way more than that.
Jamie,
Both
I'm
sides of my
butchering
family, over a century. So
100 years of farming in Florida. Jamie and Treadwell Farms have been instrumental in my development of the industry. They have been one of these companies that we can point to and say, look, these folks are doing it right. If you are interested in this product, and I will even say that I have sent my own family to Jamie to make sure that if they needed products, they could get products that were quality products. Jamie's operation is seed to sale. So Jamie will be able to talk to us about the work that she does from beginning to end. Thank you for joining us tonight, Jamie.
thank you for having me.
So, you need a product. We've got to have somebody who's growing it. We've got to have someone who is manufacturing it. And then we have distributors in the process. Next on my list today is Colette Florido. Colette serves with the Florida Cannabis Action Network as our vice president, but got involved through her work with CR World. Colette is the president and founder of CR World, which is a premium cannabis brand for people who are looking for whole plant medicine. Thank you very much for being here tonight, Colette.
That's close.
It's all right.
I like Florette. That
And
sounds fun.
Cynthia is the one who's not well, but
Yeah.
I'm going to let her take over here in a minute. And as we move through this process, somebody is working hands-on day in and day out And I think it's kind of an irony with our next guest because not only is he working day in and day out with the consumers in this space, he's working tonight with consumers in
As
the
we
space,
speak. Yeah.
even as we speak. Carlos, are you available to come in for a second? Carlos is the owner of Killam with 2 locations in the greater, and maybe he's not, in the greater
I'm here.
Tampa Bay, St. Pete area. Go ahead and bring your camera on so everybody can see your smiling face. You can.
It won't let me.
Oh, no.
Maybe it was me. Let me.
It's probably
I'll
Jodi.
Host has to do it.
Okay, Jodi
I
will
think
turn you on.
so because I had to turn you off. So I will make this happen. Wait. Okay, now you can do it. See if you can do it now.
Success.
Hi, it's me. I'm
Fabulous.
Carlos. Waka waka.
Excellent. And you can find Carlos every Sunday in the rotation with Suncoast Normal. So we hope that you will tune in on Sundays. They get some fabulous guests. They've gone out of their way to make sure that they're giving voices to a lot of people that the average cannabis consumer doesn't always hear from. So yay. Kudos to that. Doing some really beautiful work. And of course, in the rotation is what they call it. So, we often steal your line. Hey, I'm jumping in the rotation. I said to our audience that we were going to give Cynthia a minute to kind of talk about a synopsis of our Friday show on what happened last week at the national level and how it will impact us. I'm going to go on mute and give Cynthia the floor.
All right. So, as most of you already know, the last Wednesday to President Trump's desk was the continuing resolution to reopen the government after the longest shutdown in U.S. history. There was opposition for some of the language that was put in there for the hemp ban that we are referencing this evening. But at the end of the day, Mitch McConnell and some of his lovely cronies who ended up creating this loophole that everyone has utilized in the hemp space, he has now closed it with help from the liquor lobbyists out of Kentucky and a few other industry, non-industry stakeholders, but people that wanted to enter the industry. Essentially, Congress utilized a spending bill to reshape drug policy without public comment, industry input, or scientific vetting and review, which raises significant concerns for me about transparency and evidence-based governance. And by sidestepping the traditional process for debating contentious legislation, Congress has signaled to us that us in the hemp and cannabis space, our livelihood is in fact expendable, right? It's a huge blow to the hemp space, but it is something that the cannabis space needs to be aware of. As details of the federal spending bill emerge, we learn about some more disturbing activities that were done right before it was released that adversely affect our industry. More specifically, Congress removing provisions that would have allowed VA doctors to recommend cannabis to veterans. If they would have allowed this language to remain in, we would have seen access to alternative therapies and strengthened support for those who served for us. So the more you look at it, the sicker you get. This is why I'm sick. Congress made me sick. That's what I'm going to say. So pretty much the bill has been signed by the president. It wasn't a matter of if he could argue it. He actually is supporting the hemp ban from what I've read as I dig in further. So pretty much in a nutshell, we are taking the hemp industry and we are imposing very, very strict regulations, stricter than the 0.3%, and making it 0.4 milligrams per product, which, as we talked about on Friday's episode, is 0.001%. And we were at 0.3 before. This is impossible. This is a ridiculous, arbitrary, and ambiguous figure that is going to eliminate over 95% of the products in the retail space. Now, whether that's for good or bad, good or evil, we are looking at a 365-day deadline for retailers to fall in line and fall into compliance which is almost impossible. There is another deadline of 90 days, which the FDA and the Department of Health and Human Services has to follow, which is RFK Jr. and his ragtag bunch of friends out there. So I don't know how they're going to work together in this, but they have 3 activities that they need to do. They need to define what a container is. For some reason, that was really difficult for Congress to kind of iron out before, even though they did say it 12 different noun specific ways of explaining what a container is. But the second activity that they have to do within 90 days is to give a blacklist and a whitelist, pretty much. The blacklist is going to be any cannabinoid that has similar effects to THC, and they need to find out those cannabinoids. Now, how they're going to do this is beyond me. It's activities and research that we haven't even got to, and we like the plant. We want to learn about the plant, and it's just something we don't have yet. The whitelist will be cannabinoids that are naturally occurring in the plant that are not the same effects as THC, not psychoactive. So they want the FDA to list naturally occurring parts of the plant that are going to be psychoactive in nature and similar to THC, and those that are not. And they need to use peer-reviewed studies to get this information. After that, I'm going to say 365, but it's less than that because it's been a week. But retailers need to fall in line. So what we wanted to do with this panel specifically is we wanted to see, what does this look like to retailers in the Florida hemp industry that are stakeholders in Florida's hemp program in practice, if this was to go unargued, if we just let it go. And that's not what we are planning on doing, but with this survive, not thrive mentality that is being put on these people, we want to know how bad this could get. So that's where we're at. Any questions?
So one of the things that we got from kind of the national hemp industry is they want to find out how folks are being affected. So Carlos, let's go ahead and start with you. You are in the retail space, and I know you guys just talked about this. In the retail space, are you looking, how do you figure out what products go on your shelf right now? Let me start with that.
Well, there's ethical concerns that I start off with. I don't like. I have a weird store.
Okay.
A lot of our smoking industry stores, a lot of smoke shops, a lot of head shops, they're willing to do things like kratom, kava, nitrous oxide, poppers, lots of nicotine stuff. I have a bit of a strange store. I refuse to do things that are addictive. I refuse to do things that mess with opioid receptors. I pretty much stick with hemp, mushrooms, and glass products, like
Okay.
smoking products. That being said, as far as a hemp store is concerned, I'm a strange store in the other side of on the other side of the spectrum too, because a lot of hemp stores are only hemp stores. A lot of hemp stores have two or three cases in there. All they sell is Delta 8. All they sell is THCA. All they sell is maybe 1 or 2 mushroom products. Maybe they have a few kratom products. Maybe they have a few other products. But as far as like a hemp store is concerned, I'm actually quite diverse. But as far as like a smoke shop is concerned, I'm actually quite focused. So so I'm in this like weird area. As far as Chillum is concerned, I was doing a news interview the other day for Spectrum News, and the reporter was asking me like, what percentage of products would I take off of my shelf? And the best answer that I could tell him was like, from what I can gather reading the bill, about 90 to 95% of my hemp products would be taken off my shelf. So I looked into it a little further, and I actually found out that about 45% of what I sell is mushrooms, 45%, another 45% of what I sell is hemp, and about 10%, maybe a little bit more of glass and vaporizers. As far as what would happen to my store, 95% of my hemp products would be taken off the shelf. And about 45% of my inventory would be in jeopardy of being taken off the shelf.
I love mushrooms so much.
45.
Yes,
Let me just put
Just
that
an
out there for
aside,
the
by the way.
I'm on medication and not the regular kind. I'm on store-bought medication. I love mushrooms. I've been on the record to say it. And so
There you
that
have
makes
it.
me happy that you sell them.
So 40% of your revenue
Yes.
is what
Yeah,
I'm hearing.
pretty much. We're lucky in the idea that we have, a year to figure out what's going to happen. We have a year to, maybe some activists can get in there and put some regulatory framework down. We also have a year to, as a responsible entrepreneur,
Yeah, you
as
nailed
a
it.
responsible entrepreneur, I have a year to figure out, maybe there's something else I want to do. Maybe I should start selling dangerous products like kratom and nicotine and
You're the
poppers
first
and nitrous
person
oxide.
I've heard that says that we're lucky to have a year. That's the first hemp person I've heard that's like, we're lucky that we have a year to do all these activities.
Cynthia,
And that's super
typically
positive.
with these things, I'm so used to dealing with the Florida
Right.
Department of Agriculture, and it's a surprise. They just come in the store, they take what they want, they say what they want, they do what they want. So I guess I'm a little bit used to being bullied.
Yeah.
But
No, I like the positivity of it because yes, we do have a year to do something about it, and that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to push for these hemp retailers and hemp stakeholders to do. But I like that you're a retailer that's like, you're not like, oh, F this, F that, like burn it to the ground, like find their homes.
no,
It-
I am. I'm just,
I mean,
on a professional podcast.
yeah, no. We appreciate you buttoning that up for that for us, but we understand if there might be some brewing, right there. So from the retailer side, what about the manufacturing side? Because
Yeah, and I did want to get into Jamie with that.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating, and I like hearing, I'm an entrepreneur. That's
Mhm.
why I felt comfortable getting into this space. I wanted to go to Jamie, and talk to you a little bit. I'm sure you guys are going, can we grow anything that will work?
Well,
Can you
if I
grow
start
anything
if I
that'll
start from
work?
where we are from a retail perspective, we do online sales. We have a small retail in our physical manufacturing plant, and then we largely support independent pharmacies and health food stores. So I just want to put a plug out that this doesn't just affect stores like Carlos. I'm getting calls from all of these health food store owners, the SINPA Association, which is what do we do?
Yeah.
They've already been dealing with a lot of the FDAX inspections and changes that are going on there. Now they're not sure what they can or can't have. So it's pretty broad based. It affects a lot of different types of consumers and a lot of different types of stores that we don't think about. Because usually when you have this legislation, they're talking about gas stations and other things. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody's business, but they typically don't talk about stores like Carlos, or they don't talk about health food stores, or they don't talk about independent pharmacies. And so I want to make sure that voice is seen because that's a customer too. For Treadwell Farms, we make full spectrum products. And what we've tried to do with our customers is say the best products are the least tampered with, the most natural, and they have all the different constituents, which includes minor cannabinoids. It's going to include some THC within the hemp standard, and it's going to include a lot of different things which are good for you. So what we face as a challenge with our whole array of products is I think I may have one that could meet the 0.4 milligrams, maybe. But then what do I do when my whole brand's been based on farm to table, farm to bottle? We don't do a bunch of scientific extra steps because we believe the best product is going to be the most natural product. So that's really our quandary is, so do we do brand? Do we make something that we know is not as good for our customers? So that's just from that perspective on our retail. And then if we back it up, we make all of our own products. We make products for other people. What about in process materials, which we have no there's no way we can keep it within that standard if we're selling extracts to anyone else or working with them to make products. Even the process of stripping THC out, then what do I do with it? Where does it go? How do I track it? And then if I go even further back to our farm, we already have to meet the pre-harvest inspection for 0.3%. We largely grow CBD and CBG varieties. In fact, we're in a big harvest right now. So if I look kind of tired, that's why. If I think our genetics are okay as far as the zero point 0.3 standard, but once I harvest it, what risk am I taking legally? How do I even handle it? Those are the things that we're trying to think about and figure out, well, what would we do?
That's an interesting point to bring up, because we did talk about there being two thresholds of action levels for noncompliance. One being 0.3% still remains in the language in this federal spending bill. Now, why would it remain in there? Well, because biomass is still going to be exchanged on a commerce level. So in the event that someone is just cultivating to sell their biomass to an extractor, to sell it to a retailer, in that capacity, they still have to fall within that 0.3% THC total on a dry weight basis. So what's that? So what that means for anyone who didn't know before they said 0.3% Delta 9 THC. Well, the flower traditionally has very low amounts of Delta 9 THC. Any flower, even my cannabis clients, are very low in Delta 9 THC. They are very high in THCA, which is an acid, an isomer precursor for Delta 9, which will decarboxylate, which is a fancy word of saying when you ignite combustible flower and you light it up to hypothetically pass it around to the left, whatever, that is going to turn into that THCA into a psychoactive Delta 9. And that process is decarboxylation. To factor that number in on how high am I going to get, it is a formula of THCA times 0.877 plus Delta 9. That formula is now in the language where before it was not. So the Delta 9 would be very nominal, or like just like very minimal trace amounts. And now the formula will be factored in, which should have been there with Mitch McConnell at the beginning, but they forgot to remember how science works. And so now the 0.3% threshold is still in there with the formula active. And so biomass will be utilizing that in process products like you're talking about, where you extract whole plant to get that broad multi-full spectrum and sell it to like Colette, for instance, so that she can make her product. It would be above the threshold, which would make it unviable, illegal, irretrievable, and unrecognizable as a compliant product, right?
Yes.
Well,
And one interesting thing is in Florida, when we get our pre-harvest inspections, we have to go to one of 3 labs that's certified in the state. They're DEA certified. So we already have to contend with the inclusion of THCA in our calculation. So for at least for us, not saying it's good, bad, and different. I'm just saying we already have to deal with that today.
That's kind of good. That's DPI has been good. Department of Plant Industry in Florida is a division of FDACs, and they are the ones that
Yes.
are in charge of making sure that she can harvest and gets her permission slip to harvest before,
Yes.
because she is one of the very minimal. I don't even know how many cultivators do we have in the state of Florida that cultivate for hemp.
That's $1 million question. It depends on who you ask and if you're measuring who has a
Absolutely.
license and how many acres. So I'm not going to venture to guess, but I know we probably supported, it's decreased a little bit over time, but we've probably provided hemp starts to 75 farmers this year in Florida or in the Southeast. We largely supply a good portion of those are university programs. I don't know if I can do, I don't know if I'll do that. I don't know if they'll want to do that. So that's
There was
another
no
aspect
carve
of
out.
my business that now I'm not sure what the demand will be.
There was no carve out for anything having to do with research and providing those approved at the time genetics, because they had to be approved genetics to any school. What about Colette? How is Colette's product? Jodi, you go.
Yeah, so I was thinking, Colette, how they define container and what they do with container, because you do, part of the business model that you have is to take, you've got a great formulation that you have been working on for a minute. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that product came to be? There's a couple things that I'm hoping you'll touch on, Colette. First of all, you've got more than a couple licenses, and you know, when we talk about this wild, wild west, and I hear about the things that Colette has to go through, and I was at your place, Jamie, and you were waiting on the fire department or the fire chief to come and inspect your lines before you could go to the next step. And Carlos already touched base briefly on the fact that he's been used to FDAX coming in and saying, surprise, this product isn't sellable tomorrow.
Right.
Sorry you just lost $5,000 worth of inventory and the guy you bought it from is not going to take it back. Bummer. Colette, how does your products come to be, and and what are the market that you're working on? And as Florida Cannabis Action Network, you were also, we talk about how the hemp industry has kind of found a place in Florida and what that place looks like. Do you want to talk for a few minutes about some of that stuff?
Cool, I'll give it a go. I took notes here so I could get to all three of these. Yeah, CR World came to be out of our own need. I was looking for answers for my father who had frontotemporal dementia. I was really looking for answers for me as his caregiver to cope with the challenges of the aggression and agitation and the lack of getting sleep. And so we searched for products. And at the end of our search, we knew we needed whole plant hemp. We liked whole plant hemp. We wanted it to be whole plant because of all of the cannabinoids working together, the most natural form, the least processed form. And, you know, there aren't many people like Jamie Treadwell out there that are willing to do that. They want to boost it with isolated cannabinoids, but to us, we feel that we want that plant in its raw form, that whole plant form, as little processing. And so that has been the foundation of the products that we have. We serve a population of caregivers and seniors in our community, but we also cross into my other passion, which is in the tourism space, all seeking out the same answers, trying to sleep a little better at night, trying to get a little bit of repair in their bodies overnight, being a little bit calmer, being a little less in pain and more mobile. And so those are all of the things that somebody who's jet lagged is going through. And that is something that, you know, in life we're all going through. And so these products came to be because we needed that. And we wanted something that was multifunctional. So we love the coconut oil without all these additives or flavorings or in stripped form. We wanted whole coconut oil, whole plant hemp. And if you can put that together, now what do you normally use coconut oil for? Everything. What can you use this for? Everything. But the problem is that if you start to change and have to go to an isolated form of this and remove that THC, that's not what we've been doing. That's not what we've been doing. And we have a lot of folks that are going to be affected. I mean, seniors are a growing population of consumers of CBD products here in the state of Florida. They want to say around a quarter of the seniors are using some form of a CBD product. That's about 1 million people here in the state of Florida who could be using CBD products. That's a lot of people who aren't necessarily going and getting their medical cards because they don't want to go to that level of THC. They don't need that level. They just want something that they can take and not have to worry about that THC. And we're already doing that. So that's the product line that you see. And that the tourists, same problem. Here they came from a state, one of the 37 states where it's already legal, where they've already got their medical card. They already know what works. Now they're traveling to Florida. What are we going to offer them as an option? They won't have a CBD choice that's whole plant. They won't have access to the medical program because you need to be a resident of the state of Florida to use the medical program. What are you leaving them with? A legacy market choice? we're right back to something that we had solved. And so that's why, again, with the state of Florida, yeah, you have to have a license. You have to get a commercial kitchen for storage of this as a food item. You have to get the testing, and you have to be able to prove it. And you scan your barcode, and here's your expiration. And I mean, there's very specific things already required for our product to hit the shelf here. And that's not, that's on top of what normal small businesses might be going through and getting their business license. And they didn't have to deal with the challenge of not being able to market in the same ways. They didn't have to go through the challenge of the evolving market where the banks weren't even taking us for a minute. This has been a process that my business has been doing since 2017. And it has evolved because of the work that we've had to put into it over these years, the energy and also the investments that I've put into it to make this product viable and on the shelf and legal, and I feel good about it. People are taking products and feeling better. So it's really disheartening to have to explain that to my daughters, that the business that we founded as a family that they know has worked when they saw it with their grandfather, who was no longer cursing or yelling at them. They got that. They understood that. And they just don't understand why all of a sudden they can't. The plant is in this form is just not going to be available. And we have to now look at changing and pivoting one more time.
Well, that's an interesting point to bring up as far as like what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to tell your workers? What are you supposed to tell? I mean, I know your girls don't work for you, but they're invested.
We're a family business.
It's a
sure,
family
they don't
business.
work for me,
I'm
but they
saying,
might
like,
know how to sticker a packet or
right. There's no underage child labor exploitation happening at CR World. It's all voluntary. These girls want to work there. I know them and they're cool. Okay. But it is a family affair, and 100%. Like, we've seen as CR World has come up since 2017 to now, it is 100% family. Jamie Treadwell. It couldn't be any more family.
100 years.
Treadwell Farms.
Years.
I've met her entire family like in a visit, and they were all favorite right there.
And my favorite is my daughters have been over to the farm. My husband, my daughters, we all got to go over and walk the farm and see the farm because that was really important to us. And they welcomed us in and showed us around. And I reminded my girls that they sat on the stage in the front of Carlos's shop in Ybor City, many years ago when this first started. So we've certainly seen these, the family in this business space. And it's it's a legacy that's pivoting.
Absolutely. I want to ask some questions. I want Carlos, you don't manufacture the products that are on your shelf. So have you been hearing from any of your distributors about Jamie said she's getting calls from her retailers. Are you getting calls from, are your distributors having fire sales? Hey, Carlos, I got a buy 3, get 4 free today. If you'll just put it on your, what are you hearing on your end?
Nothing as of yet. I haven't heard from any distributors or anything like that. I think it's important to point out too that there was a trade show this past weekend in Fort Lauderdale called Champs Trade Show. Which is the show you would go to if you're a hemp company and you want to sell it to stores like mine. And I wasn't there, but I had heard from people that were there, and my curiosity was piquing. Maybe there's somebody out there that has the next cool product that got around this law or something like that. And they were like, my so-called champ spies were business as usual. They did not seem to be affected. I think your retailer in Florida. Oh shit, there's you're paying attention to all these laws already. I think retail in the U.S. is freaking out. But I think one thing that the distributors want to do is they want to sell their product for as much as they can right now. So they're just pretending nothing's happening.
That's a good point, actually, because I think in anticipation, in speculation, anticipation is what I'll do right now. There was an industry event that happened in Washington, D.C. right after they announced all of this stuff. It was like that Friday that we had our show, and people were panicking. So on a national scale, hemp retailers, hemp distribution, people that are maybe later into the game that didn't have to kind of go through all the paces like the group here had to go through with Florida. These are national retailers. They were panicking at the Capitol. They were like, what are we going to do? Everything's on fire and I'm panicking and like, this has got to stop. Who can we pay? Who can we buy? Who can we turn? And so that's not, I mean, to be honest with you, we've already got, and her name escapes me. Of course it does. We have one senator that's filing language to go ahead and allow for, regulation over prohibition. We've got Tilray brands going and advocating on behalf of the hemp industry, saying give them regulation, don't give them prohibition. As far as my anticipation of what's going to happen, and I'd love to hear your input, everyone. But if there is language that has already been put in place by a state that says this is how we want to govern our hemp industry, our hemp retailers, and our hemp space. If language was promulgated and officially implemented before this has come up, I think they will allow for those states to continue their program as long as they feel that the program is not out of control. They haven't teeter-tottered on language or like Texas, should we ban it for a little bit? Should we ban it? No, we're going to let them have a little bit of it and they can play with it for 10 days, 60 days. Ohio, same example. But if they say a state is able to continue their program with the current language, are you comfortable with that program that we've had here in Florida since 2018? I'll go with you first.
That was towards me.
Colette first, and then I'll go to you, Carlos.
I think that if they don't circle back on the vetoed bill that came around at the end of last legislative session, I think that as the current legislation reads, we'd be able to continue business as it is. For me, I'd be very happy with the program. I'd like to see an expanded approach on testing of the products that do stay legal, that are still here in the state. And I'd like to see them be able to expand. Oh no, I've totally lost my train of thought. But I think we've got a decent program that is.
You're comfortable with current regulations?
Comfortable with the current regulations as it pertains to my product. I think we could do things better. Education was the other piece of it, because I can only do so much consumer education, and there's lots of great benefits in getting that out into the mass population here in Florida. Would be a good use of dollars. Those are the things that I would see. The legislation itself, yeah, I think, that I will say really quickly that we're in Tallahassee right now. And so right now we are physically here. It's beautiful here right now. And so there is enough going on in that building that if we just could leave this alone for a minute, they can focus on other things. There's plenty of others, but there are folks that are working to also expand on some of the pieces that are related more to the cannabis front. But I think we have the ability to make some positive changes, not work backwards, if we can leave things alone.
I don't love Florida's hemp industry, but stable is a good thing for an industry. Carlos, you've had, the
ups and downs with FDACs.
Yeah, the destabilization of this industry has, we fuss with labels. When you go to Champs, you have to make sure that the products that you buy are Florida label compliant. That's a chore in and of itself, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. And it's changing every time. It's changing every couple of years. There was a workshop I had to go to, I think like 2 years ago, where me and Vinny were trying to convince FDACs that carrot juice and turmeric weren't, even though they had a certain color to them, that wasn't attractive to children, that we could put turmeric and carrot juice in our products. I hear Cynthia's question, and I think about the cannabis industry and like the natural progression that the cannabis industry went through. And I think of how, you know, the federal government doesn't have the means to go after every single hemp store or hemp distributor or hemp grower or anything like that.
Nope.
You know, when the cannabis industry was becoming a thing, the federal government wasn't raiding every single dispensary, but they were definitely raiding a bunch of them. You know, we had this thing that came out during the Obama administration called the Cole Memo, which was like basically saying that the federal government, as long as you're complying with the state laws, that they weren't going to fuck with you, but they still fucked with you. As far as federal resources are concerned, it's a tough question to answer, Cynthia, because there's all these different facets to our government. And, you know, as far as the federal resources are concerned, I think what they'll go after is, regardless of state law, is that if you're too small and you're growing too big, they'll push you down a little bit.
So you're fine with the regulations in Florida, but you know that the federal mom and dad.
I'm fine with the regulations in Florida, but here's the thing: is like, as far as the administration right now, Wilton Simpson's Department of Agriculture, Ron DeSantis's Florida government, I think they're going to be upholding federal law. I think they're gonna straight, yeah. I think they'll throw out state law in no time and start implementing federal law.
I'm glad you
they'll
said
start
that.
Pushing their resources towards that.
Yep, that's a good point. Jamie, what do you think? If everything stayed business as usual with the current regulations in Florida, 5K, which is the hemp like manufacturing of retail products for ingestibles, or like hemp extract for consumer, what do they say, that hemp extract products for product consumption, yes, something like that.
I guess one thing that really bothers me about this whole thing is there's been a lot of grandstanding at the federal level about protecting children. You can say what you want about how Florida's rules have been implemented, but there are practical things which are based on science and common sense. Let's have child-proof containers. Let's make sure things don't look like a gummy worm. And we can argue about what a cartoon is or isn't, but not having cartoons on containers. And whether you like or don't like any of those rules, at least they seem to fit what the legislators are saying their goal is. So whether I agree with everything, or even if it's, you know, perfectly explained to me, at least I know whether I'm deluding myself, I don't know, but at least it feels like the regulation is trying to accomplish the goal that they said they were trying to accomplish. This goal, this as it's written, doesn't even do that. No. So the message I'm trying to give is, why isn't it a regulatory structure more like Florida? Because at least then you have some consumer protections with testing. All the ingredients are listed. It's just common sense, and it's based on science. And so, you know, that's the message I've been trying to give, is there is a way to do this that doesn't put us all out of business. And there are places, and Florida's one of them, where those things have been implemented.
That's a good point. And our messaging on Friday's episode first at the beginning of the episode was like, don't jump. Everything's going to be fine. Like, come off the ledge. Everything's going to be fine. Like trying to coddle and soothe. But yeah, no, it's a shit show. It's a shit show. Let's be honest.
Well, and we did a video to our customers because our phone was ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
And the video was, we've got a year. We'll get through this together. Let's focus on common sense and science, and be noisy. Let your legislators know this is important to you. And, you know, I'm hoping if enough people are making noise, and if a lot of our customers are from the villages, they're retirees in our area because we're in a retiree dense area, I'm not sure legislators can ignore those voices, because those are voters.
That's a great 100%. Point. And we've got the midterms coming up in the next perfect segue for the fact that this is 365 days till the midterm elections. There are people that are going to be advocating for your vote. You are their constituents, you are in their district, in their region, and they are going to want you to keep them in office. And so what a great time to get noisy.
Well, and I was thinking more in terms of the fact that Florida Cannabis Action Network is in Tallahassee right now. In January, we're going to have our Citizens Lobby Day. So on the 14th of January, that's a Wednesday, we can walk with you while you make appointments and get to be one-on-one with lawmakers and their aides so that you can have a voice right there in Tallahassee. Between now and then, expect to see some sign-on letters and that kind of thing. We have some really good Florida Congress people on this issue. You know, they have to go through the Florida House, and people like Carlos and Suncoast Normal and Florida Cannabis Action Network, Tallahassee Normal, some of the hemp associations and marijuana associations, and in the last 5 or 6 years, some of the larger MMTCs and some of the larger hemp folks. Jamie's been up here and spoken, and cumulatively, we've spent a lot of our individual and collective energy making sure that these folks are educated about this plant, and then they go to Washington, D.C. So, we know that Matt Gaetz has been doing a lot of work. Greg Stubbe has introduced bills from the Sarasota area. Can we convince Florida lawmakers that they need to stand up to Congress and protect us like California did with Prop 215? Can we be that? What do you think? Anybody? Are your customers ready to stand up and do something, Carlos?
I mean, our customers have come through in the past for us. It's amazing how dedicated these people are. And I think this aligns with the spirit of Florida Can and lobby days and everything. It's like people want to contribute. It's just fucking confusing, and it's just hard to figure out how to contribute to the system and how to do something that works. So I appreciate you guys being there to like guide people and whatnot.
Well, you've been up here with us. We're certainly glad. And, maybe you will be doing your live remote from the Capitol again. I certainly would love to see some folks getting into the rotation. We'll do a marathon, be like a 6-hour show. It'll be great. We'll
6 hours
in.
the marathon. We'll go
Yeah,
24
well,
hours.
Oh God.
For stoners,
24 hours.
stoners
It'll
to
be
do
fine.
anything for 6 hours, and we are busy. Jamie, you spend a lot of time in Tallahassee, and you've done a fabulous job of educating your lawmakers, and we're in Tallahassee here. We're always grateful for that work. I understand that you are already being proactive on some of that. Do you want to talk to our listeners a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing?
Well, I've been working hard to try to get connected with our representative and our senators. I've had a little bit of luck. I'd appreciate any help if people have connections because it is challenging. We have been having our customers call and they're doing it. So I keep hoping that if I'm persistent enough, that's one of my family's qualities is we're pretty tenacious. That's one of my dad's nicknames, and I'm going to try to be tenacious about this. And I don't know if we can get anywhere, but we've offered for any of those legislators to come and visit us. We are happy to take them from greenhouse to finished product. And what I know, any legislators who have visited us with an open mind and with a willingness to learn, it's changed their thought process on this whole thing. So that's my main goal, is to at least get one of those folks to come and visit us. I already have customers that are ready to show up. They are
Nice.
ready to ride from the villages over here and explain what these products have done for them. So I'm hoping. I'm still optimistic. I mean, this plant has too much to offer. It does too much for too many people, and I don't think they'll take it lying down. It's just we've got to stay focused and tenacious on getting people educated and helping them understand the impact of
Am
taking
I the
this.
only
Get
one
on
who
the
wants to make a
bus.
bumper sticker that says the village is ready to ride and always down? Because I'm sorry.
Tenacious.
If you know, you know. If you know,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
they're-
Colette,
Which
Colette
reminds
knows
me,
because I can see it all over her Colette face. She knows.
shout out to
Shout out
Blacktop and
villages.
Brewer. Shout out to Blacktop and Brewer. She created, Cynthia with Team Florida Can created some really fabulous
We
t-shirts
can't
that we've
see
been
your
wearing
shirt, but
around.
like I bet it looks
Yeah.
amazing.
It is amazing.
Oh, you're
Passionate
Brevard
president,
ambassador.
Brevard. Yeah, I'm a Brevard ambassador. And, the shirt itself is cute, but by putting that Brevard ambassador on it, and we've had more than 30 people now come up over the last 4 weeks, different people from different areas of all wearing the same shirt, except theirs doesn't say Brevard ambassador. Colette is Pinellas ambassador, and we had some Hernando ambassadors, and we have Lee County ambassadors. And
Hillsborough.
so they're seeing, the same lapel pin, the same t-shirt, and the same message. So, I would think that there would be a few Florida lawmakers that would be like, I built this industry. What do you mean they're going to eliminate it with the stroke of the pen? And where the hell was Matt Gaetz? But longest shutdown in history. Right.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you started with, Cynthia, more than you know, about where's the transparency in government and where's the service to the people when you put something that is so outrageous onto a government spending bill that is the livelihood of our soldiers and our federal workers and milk and bread and cheese for hungry kids in Appalachia, really. But you can't have that unless we do away with an industry that's been striving to be compliant. You watch products labeling, Carlos. You're looking for ingredients. You're making sure that the products are safe for your consumers. Uh, do you have 10 customers a day, 30 customers a month, 70 customers, 200 people buying your products? Do you keep those kind of numbers?
It depends on the day. On a Monday, I'm lucky if I have 10.
Okay.
But you know, on a Saturday, we probably do about like 20, 25 customers.
Okay. So
Probably more in Ybor City, to be honest with you. I'm thinking
Yeah,
St.
Ybor
Pete's store right
City.
now.
You're big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your muscle maker. So you're gonna feel the
you do
crunch if
community
this goes through.
services,
I
programs. You've
I
been
just want to
associated
point
with.
I
Go ahead,
just want to
please.
point out something actually. All our products are very compliant, and we make sure that there's QR codes, and we've worked with the companies that are in my shelf. I've worked with for years. I mean, years. At this point, it's hard to think of working with other companies. But I want to point out, I started selling hemp. We opened our Ybor location in 2018. The farm bill passed in 2018. I forget what part of the year it passed, but we opened our store at the beginning of that year. We were actually operating off of the 2014 farm bill when we officially first opened. We've been doing this for a long time. We were accredited with being one of the first places to sell CBD on a large scale in the Tampa Bay area. And we've been doing this for a while now. I have never had a situation where a customer has gotten sick. A customer has come to me and wanted their money back because they've had a bad issue with the product. I've never had a situation where a kid got a hold of the product. I've never had a situation, I've had customers come in and straight up tell me, I'm going to give this product to my child. And I've never had a situation where that child has gotten hurt. The idea that this is to protect children is ridiculous. It's purely just nonsense.
Because you know how much kids love the carrot juice and turmeric, right? I mean, it's like, give me
And all
more.
natural
They
hemp
can't get
flavor.
enough. They can't
like
get enough.
those damn 5-year-olds rolling joints in their rooms.
And they're tiny little
No,
joint rollers. There's little Tykes joint rollers.
and
All right, now.
with the spirit of everything, right? I spent a lot of time in California working in the industry out there, pre 2011 industry. So this is when people were growing weed in their basements and selling that, walking into dispensaries with turkey bags filled with bud. And you know, mold was rampant. Nobody got sick, nobody got hurt. That was probably the freest that anybody's ever been with cannabis. The idea that we need to protect children from this wonderful plant that can do anything but help them out is ridiculous. I'm just saying.
Well, my landlord's brother utilizes Colette's product for he's had terminal cancer for a while, but he was very like anti-hemp, anti-cannabis, everything. And then after a while, just became open. So I got a CR World tincture from Colette, and he utilizes that. And that's like his gospel. That's like, okay, like I'm a badass because now I take cannabis and like have to keep it secret, but like it's helping him. And you know what? Like to him, it's the world, you know, and it's taken forever to go through this tiny little tincture. But I know that Colette's mindset and Carlos's mindset and Jamie's family and her mindset is not about how can I make the most amount of money by doing the least amount of compliance, right? It is, you wouldn't go through, Carlos, all of the crap that you've gone through with FDACs and all of the nonsense and the inspections and the exploitation of your products and changing the rules mid-game. Treadwell, I mean, y'all were in the cannabis space, you know, you're not new to farming. You have 100+ years of expertise. This is not you trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. And Colette, yes, the very vicious mother of two, you know, like I highly see horns beyond her halo. So what the whole panel was really
as we found out at the beginning of the program, that not only is CR World safe for children, but it's made by children.
Yes, by volunteer children, made by volunteer children. So, but this is what we wanted the panel for, that these are the heartbeats behind the hemp program. These are the people that are going to be adversely affected by this prohibition, by this ridiculous, you know, drug policy shoved violently inside of the spending bill where nobody can argue it. And then they take out the veterans part because they just want to put more salt on the wound. Her business, her family business, his business will all be adversely affected while you have all done everything that you can do in your power, including follow regulations, pay into the program, get your licenses, get your inspections, get your change of rules and your implementation. You voiced your concerns, you show up in Tallahassee, you speak up for your industry, and you have done nothing wrong. You've done nothing wrong. You have no adverse actions on your license, on your persons, and you're doing your best just to make money for your family, right? Unless there's some ulterior motive that I don't know and I'm a little to ask. You guys are the best part of the industry. Absolutely.
That's
the
right.
best part of the industry. We couldn't ask for better. Now, we know that it's not just compiled of the three of you. And so there are some people out there. In the event that some people do not want to play by the new rules and they want to go back to the way that they were, this is your closing argument. What would you tell someone that says, I just want to keep using this gray area and this, you know, I just want to just leave me alone. Let me keep making my dirty products. Like, what would you expect for them to see happen in the next steps? I'm
As
just
we
curious.
wrap up, anybody, any last thoughts? What are you saying to the people?
So if I knew of somebody that was making their product poorly, what would I tell them?
Yeah, I'm saying like this is your chance. Like you've been doing it right and you're facing a very big drop in your balance sheet because other people weren't. So if you had to go toe to toe with the competition who's not doing things and hasn't had to go through everything you're going through, would you advise them to do it the right way, or would you tell them just to get out of the market because it's
I would ask them if they wanted to purchase a sponsorship to Suncoast Normal. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, we've been telling people
money,
this
man.
is the time
Somebody
to come
has to
together.
support us.
Like all of us have to come together because even if you're
No,
normal and we're not.
I've got a weird point of view when it comes to, the people that, the Skittles packaging or whatnot. It's never been something that's been, on my shelf, but I've never been like an open hater of them.
It's not necessary
I
though,
know
right?
Skittles.
it's not necessary, and it's lazy marketing, and people who do stuff like it's I don't feel like it's necessarily for the government to get in and become involved in something like that, because unless it's something like copyright infringement or something like that,
But that's
I
coming.
feel
That's
that
coming.
that's somebody that is wants to market their product by looking at another product, copying it, and even if there's dangerous connotations behind that, their business isn't going to be around for too long anyways. So that's kind of how I've always felt. I've felt like that's just a sign that that's somebody that I don't want to do business with, that they're not going to be around for too long, and that they should just go on their way. They make me look bad, but I
Yes.
try not to focus on them making me look bad. I try to focus on the ignorance in the head of the prohibitionists, to be
I
honest
think
with you.
let me clarify. The reason I'm asking is because
Yeah.
Congress is looking at the people with the Skittles and the Nerds rope and the Doritos. They're looking at the
Yeah.
worst of the worst. They're not looking at the three people I'm looking at. And that's where this comes from. That's where this kind of brews from. So
I'm saying that I'm mad at the congressman. I'm not necessarily mad at
at the
the lazy
retailer.
marketer.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. What about you, Jamie? How do you feel about some parts of the industry, those bad actors, which I actually think are really good actors because they're pretending really well, but I guess that's neither here nor there. But the bad actors in the space that are causing this adverse reaction from Congress on your company, what would you say to those people?
Well, I mean, in general, for me, I I think less government is better. So I understand people that are doing their thing. Like Carlos said, I don't like it when it makes me look bad, but I can't be judged by what other people do. I can only be judged what I do by what I do. What really concerns me about all of this is, like you said, all of us here have tried our best to follow the rules, even when we don't totally understand them or agree with them. We're trying to be good citizens because we have businesses. I have 12 employees. I have other businesses that will be impacted if I'm not here, who I get services from. So that's what I'm worried about. And I think adults should be able to choose. And I think consumers can make that choice. I think there should be guardrails, but it can't be, a 500-pound hammer on every hemp product. There is a middle ground that can be struck. I'm spending time in Tallahassee and then dealing with this issue. I just think sometimes you have to be pragmatic
Mm-hmm.
and come to some agreement on things, even if you think it's stupid or it doesn't really make sense. I'm just always going to be for something that's based in science and common sense. That's just where I'm going to be. And I can have my business be successful and somebody else can have their business be successful the way that they want it to be. I don't have to agree with everything that they do. The only thing I stand firm on is consumers should be safe.
Yep.
As long as it's safe, I think adults should be able to choose. So.
I think we should burn them all to the ground. Colette, what do you think? You're to bring it to a nice, safe close where I'm not involved, so I can say whatever I want. But Colette,
We're
what are
not
your
burning them
thoughts?
down to the ground. We're
I
not
know.
burning them down to the
Sorry,
ground.
Mom.
Burn to the
No,
ground.
it may feel like a dumpster fire in the moment. We are not going to burn it down.
I
So,
know.
and I'm just going to reiterate what they've already said. I wish that they would leave the space and come back in a better way, in a healthier way, but that's just me. Because but you know what? If you want oranges, buy the fresh oranges. If you want tang, buy tang. But to sit there and to prohibit this in all of its forms, or in so many of its forms, or to have all of these regulations on a plant that has already, you cannot put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Mhm.
Clearly, it is a nationwide, worldwide acceptance that this plant has more benefits than dangers. And so I think to continue to keep doing this, the more you prohibit, the more you make it illegal, the more sensuous it becomes. And it's going to keep coming. I mean, why did these products come to be? Because the adult market in the state of Florida didn't move fast enough, because the adult market in other states did not move fast enough. But we knew that it was going to help. We knew
Mhm.
that
And
this
it
plant
didn't
was going to make
include
a
enough
difference.
people.
And it didn't
And the
include
markets
enough
didn't
people.
include enough people. People
I
wanted to
wanted to
get
be in
involved in the
business,
market space.
but I wasn't made of money. How can
Yeah.
I still make it in this industry?
And you all did the best you
There,
could with what you had. And I think you did all of you. I mean, we had the best panel that we could have asked for. We definitely cherry picked our
Science.
panel to make sure
Science and
we had
common
aces.
sense.
Yes,
Jamie, you've been practicing. You said that 3 times and it was very good.
science and common sense. Well,
Carlos, you
oh, go
wanted
ahead.
to say something before we wrap up, Cynthia. Carlos, something before we wrap up?
From space.
oh, okay. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so high right now. The no, there's this thing that I learned about called the time value of money, or
Okay.
the time value of money, right? So the idea is that if I'm going to do something, I have to first decide whether it's worth my time, right? So when we talk about whether or not I'm upset at these guys, packaging their product as Skittles or whatnot, the truth is it's not worth my time, right?
Mhm.
I am too busy fighting the prohibitionists than messing with these guys with their Skittles packaging, and these guys that are probably going to be bankrupt in a month anyways. You know what I mean? There's too much going on, with ignorance towards this plant and ignorance towards people that consume this plant, that I have to worry about people that are bad at marketing their product. One thing that really upset me, to bring it back way far back in the day, I mean, it's not that far back, but with the United for Care campaign, for the medical marijuana campaign, I went to a volunteer meetup once, and I heard a joke and I laughed during the event, and they were like, "Ooh, you shouldn't laugh. You shouldn't laugh when you're out there in a United for Care shirt." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "You have a stoner laugh. We don't want to be associated with those damn stoners." And it just killed me. It was like, why would I be upset at somebody that's already on my side? You know what I mean?
Right.
This is a horrible allocation of resources. So these guys with the Skittles packaging, okay, you're lazy. Maybe there's an issue with how you market your product. There's probably some poor person that needs to buy this product at a discount that could afford it. That's great for them. But my concern is more that there's Congress people out there that are thinking that this is going to hurt people.
Right.
Right.
And so
There's senators out there that
the reason
yeah
I asked
yeah
is
yeah
because if you Google hemp news national, hemp news Florida, and just sort by date and put hemp news, every news story covering this topic that we talked about tonight, which is so important to every one of your livelihoods and us as a whole industry, and how we come together to fight this as a unified front. Every single news story, hundreds that I've gone through since Wednesday, they are talking about the hemp industry being adversely affected, and they are showing the Doritos, the Skittles packaging, all of these packaging, bright
yeah
colors. Some of them aren't even hemp. They're showing like some of those tobacco vapes with like the lychee ice and stuff. They are showing what everybody wants to think is in every single retail environment. It's a scare tactic. And so I think we scared Carlos away. See? But that's the one thing is if you go and you sort all of the hemp news, every single B-roll that they show are all of the products that none of you sell. All of the products that everyone's so afraid that kids are going to get a hold of, which in turn, Congress is like, well, if kids are getting a hold of it, let's go ahead and just ban everything. We got to protect those kids. At the end of the day, I wish that they would show a little bit of the industry that has the integrity and the heartbeat still behind it.
And that's a good place to end
Yeah.
tonight's segment. Part of the reason why we wanted to bring in Jamie and Colette and Carlos is because we want to give a showcase to the people who are doing it right. We want our viewers to understand that there is an awful lot in the process from seed to sale to make sure that consumers are protected. There are people in the space who are talking about making sure that the products that are going on the shelves are going to be good for you and your family. We hope you have learned something today. Most importantly, we hope that you will continue to follow Elevated Intel. If you're not on Florida Cannabis Action Network's email list, go ahead and go on over to flcan.org. Put your name down on our email list. If you would like to sign up and join us at Cannabis at the Capitol, there's some links right there for you to do that. You've got to be loud about this. We have 300 days to change Congress's mind, and we have about 100 days to get the Florida legislature to put something in writing that says that they think that we should be protected when we're doing it right and that we want our consumers. So there are places to go. We're going to continue to bring you great content, and we're going to continue to promote products like Jamie Treadwell and Treadwell Farms, the special formulations of CR World, and direct you to places like Ybor City and Chillum, so that the places that you go and the products that you buy are products you can count on. Anything else before we wrap up, Cynthia?
Nope. I'm gonna take this handful of pills and go to sleep because I'm sick, like we talked about. Thank you for hosting, Jodi, and I love the robe behind you. I just want to put that on the record.
Hey, I'm doing what I can to get a little bit of my famous smoking jacket,
I
so to
love it.
speak.
I can just
It's a
picture you
pot,
in it now. This is
it's a
great.
pot kimono. It's
Oh,
had its place.
it's not a robe. It's a pot kimono.
It's a pot kimono.
That's what you should totally say when someone says
There you go. There you go.
you look
Thank
great.
you
I
all
love you guys.
tonight.
Come home soon.
Florida Cannabis Action Network, or FLCAN, has been fighting for cannabis rights in Florida for over 25 years. We're the grassroots voice pushing back against outdated laws and demanding science-based, sensible cannabis policy. From patients to veterans, business owners to everyday Floridians, we unite passionate advocates who won't settle for less than freedom. Together, as friends, we work with a purpose. Join us. Be a part of a 27-year movement to help legalize the plant.